Welcome to Your Family Matters with Carla D'Addesi, where political correctness isn't the form, but biblical correctness is. As a family activist, Carla shares practical and biblical strategies for strengthening your marriage and your family. She believes family is our greatest adventure. Carla blends contemporary issues with conservative values. From the Freedom Station, WFYL, working for your liberty.
Thank you for being with me this morning. This is Carla D'Addesi at 1180 WFYL, working for your liberty right here in the Philadelphia area, the city of brotherly love. Laura Loomer is on the line with me. Hi, Laura. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm doing really well also. You've had a really tough week, I know, but I want to talk about winning a little bit first, and then we'll get into what Twitter's been doing to you and some of the other things that you're working on. We have a great lineup for you this morning. Laura and I are going to talk to you about winning and all that's happening with Donald Trump. I do want to touch a little bit on the synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh. And then Ryan Ash is going to be joining us. He is the creator of the political movement, the New Right Network. He's going to be calling in, and you may have been very aware of his first site that he launched back during Donald Trump's campaign, which was called The Donald, which was really a cultural phenomenon. So he's going to be calling in also, and really we're going to be concentrating on volunteering and voting and getting out the vote in 1 week so that we can continue to move forward with Donald Trump and we the people, and not have the resistance in the House or at the Hill. Is there static coming in? Do other people hear that? Or is it just my line?
There was a little bit going on there. We'll see if we can correct that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Steve. That was our producer. That was just going to get a much better sound for all of you. So, firstly, one thing that we're winning at hugely is last night I was invited to speak to the college Republicans in our area and the young Republicans with whom I adore speaking to the youth in the country because they are all our future. And I want to just throw out a shout out to Sean Gamble, who has been hunting me down for probably a year, asking me to come and speak to his group. And finally last night it worked out. And it was such an encouragement to me to see all of these young kids that were really excited. They spent Tuesday evening with me. I was supposed to speak for 30 minutes. I ended up speaking for an hour. I ended up speaking for an additional 30 minutes beyond that, just taking questions. And make no mistake that our young kids, especially at the universities, are being poisoned with liberal indoctrination. There were flags around the campus where I was speaking that said no borders. And so we had a big discussion about, even though this same university is claiming that they're so diverse and inclusive of everyone, the fact that they have flags around the university campus that says no borders. You know, we talked a lot about, well, should you not vet people that go in and out of the student dorm rooms? Should you not vet people that go in and out of the cafeteria and just feed everyone in the city? So there has to be a vetting process, not only for the university, and there has to be borders for the university, but there also has to be borders and vetting for our country, which is way more important. So again, just the liberal logic is just doesn't make sense. But again, just so exciting to see these kids. They talked a lot about not telling their friends that they're conservative, not telling their friends that they're Trump supporters. We talked a lot about coming out of the conservative closet and speaking boldly, because I truly believe, and I've seen it in my own life and in my kids' life and in my husband's life, that courage does breed courage. I am sure that, Laura, you can speak to that also, that courage breeds courage. And you speak on college campuses often, right, Laura? I'm seeing conservatives rising up on the university campuses. What are you seeing?
I actually don't do a lot of speaking tours. I want to. I don't really speak to a lot of college students, but I am in touch with a lot of students just through social media and through my website as well. And I do think that conservative movements are starting to pop up more on college campuses because there's a lot of students who are just sick and tired of being bullied and silenced by their professors and their classmates.
Right. And they also brought up that the shootings that happened in Pittsburgh at this university, they were blaming the government and Trump. And I don't know whether you watched a little bit of the media yesterday, but Trump and Melania did come to visit Pittsburgh here yesterday and just show their support. And Trump, and I'm quoting right now, he said that anti-Semitism and the widespread persecution of Jews represents one of the ugliest and darkest features of human history. So he continued to say the vile, hate-filled poison of anti-Semitism must be condemned and confronted everywhere and anywhere it appears. Yeah. So, and you know that Ivanka is married to Kushtin. I forget his first name at the moment. I need more coffee. I was out late with those college students. They kept me out late. I'm used to being in bed by 10 o'clock, and I didn't get home until about 11:30. So we have to allow our president to grieve and to lead. And it was really egregious that in Pittsburgh, they were saying that they did not want him to come. They did not want him to speak. They're blaming President Trump. So again, this fake news that's happening in Pittsburgh is really just vile and wicked and evil. And it's exhausting that the Dems are constantly feeding into evil. Like, they're not feeding into unity. They're constantly feeding into division and to evil, as far as I see it.
Yeah. I completely.
Yeah, and they take every opportunity, agree. You know, Laura?
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's absolutely no reason for any Jew to despise or hate Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is the most pro-Jewish president we've ever had. He moved the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. He recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. He prayed as a sitting U.S. president at the Western Wall. I mean, this president that we have is the most pro-Jewish president in U.S. history, hands down. His daughter is a Jew. His son-in-law is an Orthodox Jew. His grandchildren are Jews. I mean, I don't know how anybody in their right mind can make these comparisons and say that Donald Trump is responsible for the Pittsburgh shooting, that he's a white supremacist, and that he's Hitler. It makes no sense to me, especially as a Jew myself who voted for Donald Trump. I'm just very disturbed by a lot of these liberal Jews who have decided to use the death of fellow Jews at the hands of an actual Nazi, which is a left-wing ideology, Nazism, of course, to further divide the country and spread hate against President Trump.
It's interesting because I grew up in an area that was heavily populated by Jewish people, and I went to a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs. In fact, a lot more. I didn't go to any confirmations or anything like that, because that's how heavily populated. I was like the token non-Jewish girl. And what's interesting is that in my experience, I believe that the Jewish people, at least that I'm friends with, and the Jewish people that are in this country, I think that they're anti-Jewish without even realizing it. I think they could care less that the embassy was moved to Tel Aviv. I think that they could care less that Sharia law is coming here. I think that they don't think that that is attack on their Western civilization and their Judeo principles. So that's what I see. I see that the Jewish people in the United States of America are similar to the women, the fake feminists that think that they are battling for championing for women's rights when in reality they're actually destroying my rights. Same thing with many of the Jewish people here. I don't think they have a clue. I think they're actually voting against Israel and against Judaism, to be quite honest with you.
They are, and that's why I don't understand why a lot of Jews vote for the Democrat Party, because it's the Democrats who always stand with the Muslim organizations, and there's more Jew hatred in the Quran than there is in Hitler's Mein Kampf. The Democrats voted for the Iran deal. You know, they're inherently anti-Israel. They always stand with people. I mean, do you remember at the I believe it was the Republican convention, or maybe it was even the DNC. Somebody mentioned Israel, right? They mentioned Israel, and the Democrats booed. The Democrats booed, and they wouldn't stand up. They would not stand up when talking about support for Israel. So, you know, the Democrats are very anti-Semitic people, and their platform has always been anti-Israel. And the people who they have decided to put front and center. I mean, just look at some of the politicians and representatives in the Democrat Party who have been photographed with Louis Farrakhan, who have hung out with Louis Farrakhan. You have Barack Obama, you have the Clintons. You know, there's many people. Linda Sarsour, who said Jews shouldn't be humanized. Keith Ellison, who's running for Attorney General, Deputy Chair of the DNC, and just 2 weeks ago as well, Louis Farrakhan called Jews termites. And what is the significance of that? Well, what do you do to termites? You call an exterminator. So Louis Farrakhan is basically saying that Jews should be exterminated. And this is the same guy who said that Hitler was a very good man. And our former president, Barack Obama, has a picture smiling cheek to cheek with Louis Farrakhan.
Absolutely. Obama went to Jeremiah Wright's church, which had Farrakhan out often to speak at the church. And it's known that Jeremiah Wright's church was very anti-Semitic. Besides being anti-American, very anti-Semitic. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about winning, because I like to concentrate on all of the good that is really happening, because I think that most of the media tends to harp on all of the bad that's happening. But I believe that there's so much winning happening, especially in these 18 months, and there's even going to be more if we all get out and vote this Tuesday the way that we should be, red wave rising. Get out and vote. Bring everybody to vote. You have to be sure to vote so that we do not have Democrats getting in who are saying that they will resist everything that President Trump and his cabinet is trying to do. So let's just talk a little bit quickly about winning. We could be winning so much more if we didn't have this resistance. But remember, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act provided $5.5 trillion in tax cuts, of which $3.2 trillion, that's almost 60%, Laura, went to families. Families that were hurting before under Obama. Now we have tax relief under President Trump. The bill increases the child tax credit and makes the credit available to many more families. I actually was invited to the meeting where we were discussing tax reform in the White House, in the EEOB building. I was there. This is giving America's moms and dads much more relief. And then also I loved, for all of you families out there, that the tax bill expanded educational savings plans to include kindergarten through 12th grade. This is amazing because for those of us who have our kids in public school or private school or Catholic schools, you can now put $10,000, no more than that. The government's not giving you the $10,000. People have made that mistake. You can put $10,000 aside to go towards that tuition money or to go towards writing lessons, tennis lessons, piano lessons, art classes, tutoring. One thing that I was very disappointed with is that we were trying to get homeschoolers included in that, and Cruz was supporting homeschoolers to be included in that tax bill expansion of educational savings. But sadly, Bernie Sanders and our own guy right here, Casey, voted against homeschoolers being included in that. So if you are a homeschool family, you should have been calling your Republican representatives and making sure that they voted so that you could have been included in that tax bill expansion. Also, we always have to talk about, because the left talks about how much Trump dislikes women, we always have to talk about how much good he's doing for women. So women's unemployment rate is 3.6%, the lowest it has been in 65 years. 65 years. January 2017, 2.2 million new jobs for women. 1.4 million American women have joined the labor force. Remember, the other side is trying to give our jobs, our positions, our wards, our places on athletic teams to men who identify as women. I reject that. Unless you have an XX chromosome, you should not be getting Women of the Year award. You should not be playing on the women's tennis team. Period. End of story. That's not debatable. Another great thing that we're winning out, Laura, is that he's protecting American families from the gangs, the MS-13. The Department of Justice worked with Central American partners to arrest and charge close to 4,000 MS-13 gang members just this year, including the alleged leader of MS-13's East Coast program. Remember, Democrats won sanctuary cities right here in Philadelphia, August 2016. We had a 12-year-old raped by an illegal alien. Absolutely nothing was done to the illegal alien. And so what is that saying to the little girl who's 12 years old who got raped by this illegal alien man, that nothing was done? What does that say about her? And she's an American. So thank a Democrat for that. So lots of winning happening. Oh, something else that's really great is that women, President Trump is encouraging you to go into the STEM fields. He signed 2 bills that promote and increase opportunity for us as women in business, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Win, 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 win. And I could also continue to talk about how many women that he has appointed to cabinet level positions, 6, it's the most ever, and how many women are leading as spokespersons for things like the White House, Pentagon, State Department, and the Justice Department. All really great stuff. But I want to talk to Laura a little bit about what has been happening with you on Twitter this week, because I believe that with the midterms coming up, they're trying to censor people like you and other conservatives because you're going to get people out to vote red on Tuesday.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I'm a conservative and because I've been doing such effective journalism and exposing a lot of these Marxist and jihadi candidates who are running for office, Twitter suspended my account yesterday, and the timing is rather suspicious since they suspended me for 6 days and 21 hours, which when I calculated the time, it's from yesterday till the day after Election Day. So they're basically making it so that I'm not able to communicate with any of my supporters, and I have about 240,000 of them just on Twitter alone, so that I can't tell them about these candidates. I can't continue to expose them, so that I can't encourage people to vote Republican. And it just sucks because I'm a journalist and that's how I make my income. And that's also how I do my job. And in this day and age, in 2018, like, you can't be a journalist or have a job anywhere as a journalist if you don't have social media. So I just think it's really unfair how these social media companies are just banning conservatives left and right because they don't want us to influence people to vote Republican. What are we supposed to do? And yesterday alone, it wasn't just me that was suspended. Milo Yiannopoulos got banned on Facebook. Gavin McInnes got banned on Facebook and also Instagram. Facebook is banning all Proud Boy pages and anybody associated with the Proud Boys. So it's just really disgusting and really sad what they're doing. And I really wish that somebody would do something. And I wish that the president would address this, because a lot of his biggest supporters and people with the biggest platforms who are convincing people to vote Republican are being shut down. I mean, I probably had about 15 of my friends message me yesterday telling me I was banned, I was suspended, I'm locked out of my account. They're just going on a full-blown purge on social media, and they're trying to attack free speech in America so that they can steal the election.
Yes, exactly. And I actually wrote an op-ed just about this last week for Western Journal and the New Right Network about how the big tech companies are attacking our freedom of speech. And they are really designating what is read and what is not read. And I actually think that they're promoting a lot of the Democratic agenda and pages that probably don't have that many followers. Like, they're pushing them to the top of the news feed when I know people like you and others are getting a lot more hits, a lot more sharing happening, but they're suppressing that because we know that they changed their logarithms. That's happened to me. That's happened to many of my good friends, just as it's happened to you. So what can we do about that? We can go over to Gab. We talked about this last week with Andrew Torba, but believe it or not, Gab was taken down last week because they had their platform. Whoever was they don't use Google, they use a different platform. I think it was called Joy something. Actually took them down. Now they immediately got back up about 4 days later. But there's no doubt in my mind that the big tech companies are playing around with conservatives because they do want to steal the election this Tuesday for the Democrats. And they just never play fairly. And it's because they're going to lose big, I believe.
Yeah. And now Gab is taken down completely. And they've also been banned from PayPal. Can you believe that? They're banning people from PayPal because one of the users on Gab committed the synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh. But I don't understand how Gab is responsible for that. Omar Mateen, who killed 49 gay people at a club in Orlando, a gay club in Orlando, he was using Facebook. Should we shut down Facebook? I mean, more people died in Orlando than they did in Pittsburgh. Should we shut down Facebook? Should we shut down Twitter? Because Cesar Sayoc, this guy who was supposedly sending, these fake bombs to Democrats, was using Twitter. Should we shut down Twitter? I mean, it's ridiculous.
No.
I don't understand why Gab is held to a higher standard simply because they're a conservative or they were founded by a conservative. It makes no sense to me. And it should really scare every American that these companies can basically strip you of your identity, your voice, your online presence, and your bank account if they don't agree with you.
Gab may be held to a higher standard, but I believe that Facebook and Twitter are held to a lower standard. They have no standards that they're allowing people to incite violence against, conservatives, Trump's supporters, pro-life people, people that are pro-Judaism. They are attacking us. So I think that they have really low standards. Share with me a little bit about what's happening in Georgia with Stacey Abrams. Evidently, she's pro-Sharia. She's running for governor there.
Yeah. So I was just in Georgia, and I was doing some investigative work into Stacey Abrams, who's running against Brian Kemp. And Stacey Abrams is the Marxist candidate for governor. And she has been endorsed by Linda Sarsour, and she's campaigning with a lot of these people who are in the resistance movement. And as you know, Linda Sarsour is an advocate for Sharia. Linda Sarsour is tied to terrorist organizations. She's an associate of CARE, which is tied to Hamas, which has the sole mission of killing Jews. And I confronted Stacey Abrams at one of her events this weekend after the synagogue shooting. And I said, in light of what happened, too, do you not just want to disavow Linda Sarsour? Will you disavow Linda Sarsour? Because Linda, 2 weeks ago, was saying that we shouldn't humanize Jews. How could you campaign with such an evil woman? How could you campaign with a woman who advocates for Sharia law, which calls for the killing of Jews? It's just so uncivilized. And for a woman to be running for governor, to one, stand with an advocate of Sharia, and two, did you know that Stacey Abrams once participated in a flag burning ceremony of the Georgia flag? She wants to be governor of Georgia, and she burned the Georgia state flag.
Right. She hates Georgia. And you keep sharing that, Linda Sarsour and Sharia hates Jews, but they absolutely hate Christians as well. Like, Christians need to understand that. We are also considered infidels according to the Quran and Sharia. And we also are, if we were to go and live in one of the countries that is ruled by Sharia, we would be discriminated against. We would be persecuted. My understanding is that we get fined extra taxes to live in that area. If you are not a professing Muslim, then you are targeted. So we need to understand that, yes, they are very aggressively anti-Semitic, but they are also anti-Christian.
Yes, very much so. And a lot of these candidates have not even stated what their religion is, like Stacey Abrams or Andrew Gillum, who's also another Marxist running for office. He's running for governor of Florida. And Barack Obama is going to be here in Florida on Friday campaigning for him. So today, Donald Trump is going to be in Fort Myers, Florida, campaigning for Republicans, and I'm sure he's going to be talking about the need to vote Republican and vote for DeSantis and other individuals here as well. But Obama's coming on Friday. And, it's very disturbing to me because, Barack Obama, Eric Holder was just here campaigning with Andrew Gillum. Eric Holder is encouraging people to kick Republicans. The Democrats are really inciting violence. And I predict there is going to be a full-blown civil war in this country, because how can you have officials like this get elected when they're advocating for violence? I mean, in Florida, just the other day, the GOP office in a town here in Florida had its windows shot out. So, the Democrats aren't condemning that. I don't see CNN condemning this. I don't see Democrats speaking out about this violence. Somebody could have been inside that building. Somebody could have been shot. Somebody could have been killed. And what's going to happen if you have a Democrat governor, a Marxist governor in the state of Florida? What would happen if somebody did get killed in a Republican office? Is the governor just going to say, well, take them to the mat. When they go low, kick them? Is that, this is what they're inciting. They're responsible for this. People like Andrew Gillum and Maxine Waters and Obama and Eric Holder are responsible for this. And somebody's going to get killed if they don't stop. Somebody is going to get killed. And the violence needs to stop. The incitement of violence and the hyperbole and this excessive hate that the mainstream media is promoting every single day is going to get somebody killed.
It is getting people killed. Look at Scalise was shot at the congressional baseball game. The left has always, communists, socialists, the left, Democrats have always incited evil and violence and wickedness. I mean, if you've ever read Ann Coulter's book, Mob Mentality, she has multiple examples of historically that the Dems have always incited violence. It's just gotten a lot stronger and a lot more prevalent. Daily, they're asking to incite violence. And, if there ever is a civil war, which I believe that the right is rising up, and that we have the walkaway movement and we have the Blexit movement happening, I believe that we can and are changing the trajectory of this country. If there ever was, Laura, conservatives, it's the right. I know how to use a gun. We have our carrying permits. We have all of the ammunition. We're not afraid to use those things. What does the left have? They have men who know how to use lipstick. They know men who know how to dress in women's clothing. So I'm not sure that I really fear those people. Although you might have read Project Veritas just exploded October 18th and the Dems are trying to battle this and suppress this and kick Project Veritas off of everything, of course, because they went undercover and actually have on tape and on video Democrats saying that they go out and they find people who are mentally not stable, pay them to protest, pay them to incite violence, pay them to riot, which you and I already knew and millions of Americans already knew.
I was working with Project Veritas while we were doing that expose. I was a part of that expose. So I have been exposing this violence, this political violence that is being fueled and funded by the left and the Democrat Party, really at the top, really coming from Hillary Clinton, Obama. And people think it's just groups like Antifa. But yeah, if you watch those Project Veritas exposés, you'll learn all about what's called bird dogging. It's called bird dogging. It's bird dogging. It's when political, these candidates, these Democrat candidates, they do it a lot of times behind the scenes, and they work with these activist organizations and pay them to show up to Trump rallies and incite violence, to show up to conservative events and beat people up and really just gin up this toxic environment. And Hillary Clinton got caught doing that during the election. She got caught working with an organization called Democracy Partners to do that. And they were showing up to Trump rallies and they were attacking people. They were attacking women. They were attacking elderly people, and it was a result of Hillary Clinton. It was being ordered by Hillary Clinton's campaign.
She might be our biggest enemy and our biggest domestic terrorist. So, did you hear that Ben & Jerry's is having a new flavor called Sharia strawberry?
Sharia strawberry, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm joking. Did you hear that? Wasn't Laura Sarsour out there with?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Sorry.
Do you want to know something?
Yeah, Linda,
Honestly,
Linda.
I wouldn't even be surprised anymore. So I saw this whole story about Sharia. You really scared me there for a second. My heart just kind of skipped.
I'm telling you, it's going to be the new flavor next week. I am telling you.
I saw. Oh my God!
They're crazy enough
because
to do
I saw that they really have partnered with the resistance movement, and Linda Sarsour was pictured with the owners of Ben & Jerry's the other day. And oh my, I wouldn't even be surprised if they started having Sharia strawberry ice cream.
Well, and that's frightening to me because Ben & Jerry have Jewish roots, and here they are partnering with a girl that is very much pro-Sharia. And I'm not sure whether Ben & Jerry are ignorant, uninformed, but it is frightening to see that. And yeah, maybe you and I should recommend that they do that and try and get some money out of it, at least to fund the conservative movement.
Yeah.
So on the line right now, we have with us Ryan Ash. He's been waiting patiently, and I have a feeling that he is chomping at the bit to talk with you and I, Laura. But he's the creator of the political movement, the New Right Network. He's been working with me with Carla and Company on his new network. And you may recognize his name because he started a site called The Donald, which was quickly a cultural phenomenon. And he had the fortune of working with the members of the Trump's campaign and staff, and actually the honor of hosting Mr. Trump himself, our President 45, in the whole entire year leading up to the election. And Ryan and I have become friends, and he has been working tirelessly still, thousands and thousands of hours, volunteering time, which all of us have been volunteering hours. I know that I have been volunteering hours. My kids are volunteering hours. And we need to continue to do that over the next week for the midterms, and then continue through to get, Trump into 2020 and beyond, because we can never go back to the 8 dark years, as I call it, the dark, dark years when Obama was in. So, Ryan, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
It's great to be here, Carla. And Laura, it's always good to hear you. And I was really enjoying you ladies talking, especially about Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was definitely our worst enemy, but also our greatest recruiter. I think she did a great job for us. And especially, I think maybe for the midterms yesterday when she referenced, 2 days ago, was it? When she said that Cory Booker and Eric Holder, because all blacks look alike. That was quite a statement, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
she's
I
a
think
racist. The Democrats are racist. If you recall, Hillary Clinton called Democrats, black people super predators, and her husband is responsible for jailing, tons of black men during his presidency, ruining black families across America. So I'm not really surprised. Are you?
I'm not 100% not surprised especially because their connection to Robert Byrd, the ex-Cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan, and even her husband and Barack Obama, surprisingly, eulogizing the man when he died.
Yeah, exactly.
You remember CNN with Kanye West? They were saying that this is what happens when Negroes do not read. They vote for President Trump. And so, we have CNN, we have the Clintons. They're all
Well, Don Lemon's an interesting case. Don Lemon says that Kanye West was trying to appease a white man. He's married to a white man, sleeping with one every night. So I don't see where that's coming into play. So interesting.
So tell us a little bit about the Do Right Network. Why did you start it, Ryan?
I need to give a little background because actually I first started volunteering my time when Donald Trump declared his presidency and the famed escalator ride. And again, I've always kind of wanted to be in the background. I don't want to put my face out there. I'm not trying to be some e-celeb or anything like that. And so essentially I got involved with it's a subreddit on reddit.com called _Donald. And I was a very early moderator. The actual person that started it wasn't registered. It wasn't me, but I was involved with it in the first early couple weeks of it. And we grew it to over 500,000, had AMA. We had Laura actually on several times. And we had pretty much everybody. We had Donald Trump in July 29, 2016. And so we just did what we could to get elected, help get Trump get elected digitally. And I became very familiar with the MAGA movement online. And I realized something, though, and I saw the community kind of going in a way that was kind of maybe not as cerebral content. And there's only so many times you could say Bill Clinton's a rapist, Infowars.com, and it translated into votes, especially, And I also saw the censorship coming and getting worse. And so I just thought we needed to get to a multi-platform system, more of a Hydra. And so kind of playing whack-a-mole with the censors. And so right now, currently, we're registered just 24 different social media platforms. We have our website, which is newrightnetwork.com. And we're growing slowly but surely. I think it's too early here. I haven't had enough coffee. Sorry about that. And what we do is we have a lot. We have journalists. We have 31 journalists that write. We put anywhere from 1 to 5 articles out a day. We have live streamers that we put out on. We have Facebook, even like MeWe, if no one's ever heard of it. We used to do Gab before Gab got pushed off the internet so unceremoniously for absolutely no reason, because that came down to a game of money and ideology. Basically, they weren't super rich like Facebook and Twitter, so they couldn't push them off and not face repercussions. And because they were founded by conservatives, that's very convenient to do before the midterm. So I guess that's what happened to Gab. And I feel sorry for Andrew Torba, because Andrew Torba put a lot of effort getting that up and going, and I think that's a bunch of baloney, just keep it nice and clean. But we also we do shows like, for instance, we feature this show. We like to push it out, Carla and Company, and that's basically what we do. And the reason is pretty simple. We try to counter Share Blue. It used to be Sharia something, but Share Blue, and that's founded by David Brock. David Brock had $45 million to use on social media going into the midterms, and that shows the sophistication of the donor class on the left. And because David Brock has, obviously, close ties to the Democratic Party, specifically the Hillary Clinton branch of it. And they go on and they smear all conservatives. Every conservative that you've ever heard talk on the show, guaranteed, has been affected by some trolls, at least, if not outright attacked by the little minions of David Brock. And they've even turned violent in the past and definitely have ties to Antifa, et cetera. And so basically the only way that we can counter them is with a spirit of volunteerism that we exhibit, because, again, the donor class on the right is not as developed, sophisticated, or determined as the left, and also not near as organized. And so that's what we're doing voluntarily. And so that's what we really appreciate, people like, Carla. Yeah, of course. But that's what we appreciate, people like Carla that can come in and, help out, volunteering, getting the voice out there. Everybody listening to the show, in a sense, I would implore you to also do the same if it's in your heart and your spirit to do so. And that's basically kind of where we're at. And we're growing all the time, and we appreciate it. And we're looking forward to the midterms. I'm predicting that we're going to do pretty well. What do you ladies think? That's a lot of information there. That's quite a rant for me.
Well, so I want to ask you this question first, because Laura and I and others have talked often about how the left donor base is huge and they have so much more money than the conservative base. And we know that they're backed by George Soros, of course, but we in the conservative movement also have people with tons of money. But something just struck me. A lot of my conservative friends, including my family, we tend to donate to our church, for example, or we donate to clean water in Haiti, or my husband goes and does medical missions trips in Haiti every year, and thousands of people wait in line to see him. There's a lot of our friends that give $10,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to organizations that stop sex trafficking, for example. It hit me that are the Dems giving money to the Democratic Party, the left, because that's their church, that's their religion, so it's really, their money is very compressed, like all of their money is just going to the Democratic Party, as opposed to conservatives, it is getting fragmented. We're giving to the church, we're giving to Family Research Council, we're giving to Pennsylvania Family Institute, we're giving to pro-life charities. And then, yes, we throw some to the Republican Party or to some candidates. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on that are, I think there's definitely an element there that's right. What I also think is you give what you mentioned, everything you mentioned, you give day to day. You give using your skills or your vocation, like your husband volunteering, or you giving to your church or things like this. That's volunteering day to day, because if you look, how the money's actually given by the average conservative, the average liberal, the average conservative actually gives more to charity. And so that, even though the liberal gets all, huffy, up in arms, et cetera. So I think that that's definitely tied in together, because they are giving to what they view as their institution, their holy church, because I think that atheism is a religion in America. And I think, a lot of these Dems do worship at the altar of it. And I think that they basically donate and want to take over political power because they view it as their right to take over from, the conservatives. And so they want to give,
It's their God. Government is their God.
110% the government is their God. And plus, you also have to remember that I don't mean this even as a joke, because you talked about, paying people to protest or perhaps, have unaddressed mental illness issues. The thing about the left is, on the right, everyone's going to work every day because we believe in conservatism, working, dedicating our time and efforts, for the fruits of our labor. Whereas the left basically is sitting around and just waiting for a cause because they're not doing anything. Most millennials have fallen into that category. Absolutely. They just don't have anything to believe in. And that's why they pick up the banner so easily for these liberal causes.
So let's switch to talking about the midterms. What are you guys seeing? Red wave rising across all 50 states? What's happening?
I think there is a red wave that's going to rise, but the issue is that there's a lot of people who are being censored and shut down on social media. And I think that the Democrats really want to demoralize people and shut people down conservatives mostly, so that they can try to convince people that there's going to be like a Democrat victory. But, it's really disturbing what is happening in this country right now. And I think that even Democrats themselves, there's a lot of them who see through this craziness, because not all Democrats are this insane. Not all Democrats are total Marxists, and, not all Democrats are inciting violence. The Democrat Party of today is not your father's Democrat Party. And so I think there probably are a lot of Democrats who are secretly probably going to vote Republican, and they are not telling their friends or their family members, but they're going to do it. Just like we saw what happened with when Donald Trump was elected. Of course, there were a lot of Democrats who secretly voted and they came out. And there's a lot of people who joined the walkaway movement. I don't think there's anyone in America who is going from red to blue. I think it's all probably blue to red. I think that's pretty safe to say, because I don't understand how anybody in America could go from red to blue.
Absolutely. The independents have been definitely energized because of the violence they saw with Kavanaugh. I mean, not the violence, but just the asinine situation with, Kavanaugh and then Antifa in the streets. And I agree with what Laura just said. I think that I don't get too, comfortable, though. I think that everyone needs to get out and vote. I think 100%, vote and volunteer is my, big saying. I think that once we do that, I think that we're up against the battle here. I think a lot of people online like to get together in conservative spaces and think, oh, we got this one. This is definitely it. We convince ourselves because we're kind of getting snow globed. I think we need to look at what the other side's actually bringing, and they have very, very large numbers, and we need to take that into consideration. Get out and vote. How
can we volunteer with New Right Network or even you, Laura?
Oh. Well, the New Right Network, you can volunteer. It depends on what you're bringing to the table. I mean, if you have, if you're a writer or an editor, we always take that, with like live streaming. That's because we're trying to create that original content, social media, that we get push out, and people, might find interest in that. Day to day, come to newrightnetwork.com. We have a little small form you can fill out, and people that help actually kind of support and push out the content that we create. And basically, that's how we do it. Many hands make for light work, and I employ everybody out there to do so. There you go.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts to that, Laura? Do you have interns helping?
Yeah, I think that people really just need to be involved, whether you have your own blog, whether you're posting on social media until we're all banned, of course, everything is going to start at the local level. So you need to be involved in your own community. You need to get out. You need to help educate people. You need to put signs up. You need to volunteer. Do anything you can at the local level, really, to help spread this message and encourage people to vote Republican. If you have friends on election day who don't have cars and they need to get to the polls, take them to the polls, help people out, right? Make sure that all your friends are going to go vote. And, we really need to do what we can to, help secure this red wave. And if you're not doing something, well, you need to step up your game. There's no excuse. Everybody can do something. Even if you're disabled, you can do something. If you're disabled, you can sit at home on a computer and you can send out messages to people. You can send out letters. Everybody has a role to play. And whether you have a family, whether you're going to school, whether you have a full-time job, it doesn't matter. Everybody has some amount of time. Everybody is capable of doing something, even if it's just like, licking envelopes and stuffing letters inside to send to people to encourage them to go vote Republican. Everybody can do something.
Yeah.
Hey, Laura, Laura, while I'm talking to you right here on the show, I want to say that when I saw you talking to Alyssa Milano at Politicon, I thought that was one of the funniest and greatest moments ever in the MAGA movement. I absolutely loved you confronting her, by the way. She did get loomer.
Thank you.
I love it.
I second that. That was great. So,
yeah,
actually,
thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and it's incredible because even the media was agreeing with me. Usually all the left-wing media, they call me a Nazi. They call me alt-right. They say I'm far right. But because Alyssa Milano is so egregious and so stupid, and because Linda Sarsour truly is an evil human being, and I was right. I brought facts, and they couldn't challenge what I said. They actually identified me as a conservative investigative journalist, and they didn't smear me in the articles. The news coverage from the most left-leaning sites in America actually agreed with me, believe it or not.
That is
I love when you're characterized as a neo-Nazi, being that, you're Jewish and everything else. I'm
it's
like,
pretty
this
insane.
is ridiculous. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
well,
it's getting out of control.
So on Friday, last night I was with our college Republicans and our young Republicans in this area. Friday, we're having one of our largest Republican women's meetings here. I have a friend, Kathy Barnett, coming to speak at that. So I will tell you in Pennsylvania, as the president of our county's women's Republican organization, we are seeing the most volunteers that we have ever had, the most interest that we've ever had. And I am seeing young people, many college and even high schoolers coming out to our meetings, coming out to volunteer. We've been having days on Saturdays where we knock on doors. So that's what I'm seeing in Pennsylvania. I think that we are going to go red, not only here in Pennsylvania, but across all 50 states. Let's talk about solutions, you guys, something that I have started to do because I do get put in Facebook jail. I do get put in Twitter jail, just like everybody else. I've been starting to collect people's emails, and I'm gathering thousands of emails. And I know that you are doing this too, Ryan, because I feel like if I do get taken away from something, I can go to my emails and still communicate with the conservative movement, and they can still disseminate truth.
110%. We're getting emails as much as we possibly can. That's another great way. Send your email. I mean, go to newrightnetwork.com, fill out that form. We ask for the email, send it to us. The reason why is because, like you said, people are getting banned, shadow banned, taken off, all kinds. Facebook's probably the absolute worst. You mentioned that. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg treats that as his own personal kingdom over there. He was removing posts 2 weeks ago that were just being critical of him personally. He's worth how many billions of dollars, and he's such a little man that he has to remove posts that are mildly critical of him. I mean, what does that say about him? So I think that, getting down to the brass tacks of it, email, things like that's going a little bit a little bit less flash. People, you're not going to have all the funny, cute videos, but it's not getting the message out 100%. Band together. If you're out there and you're listening to this, find your group of friends. Find a MAGA community online. We invite you to newrightnetwork.com to sign up, or we're on everything you can imagine. On Twitter, we're at New Right Network. All that, Instagram, everywhere. But find some place that you're comfortable with. Find a volunteer program. Work locally. Get out the vote, especially when the midterms coming up. Call up your local Republican office. And I don't normally say this because of the division, and like between the rhinos, the MAGA movement. But look, this election, this is a straight ticket voting election nationally. Go in there, vote Republican in the House, vote Republican in the Senate, and do not waver from that. We need every seat we can get. Go door to door. It doesn't matter. I mean, get with your local chapters of, the GOP chapters and see what you can do. Get out. And I think that Carla said the right thing. I think it was Carla. 100%. Pick up anybody that maybe doesn't have a car, or people, doesn't, whatever. Take everybody. Don't go vote by yourself. Go with 5 of your friends.
We have the Amish voting here, and they don't drive. So there's people that have organized to pick up the Amish. And actually, on the highway out this way, there's an enormous sign that says, the Russians did not get Trump in, we did. And it's a sign of an Amish person in their buggy with a horse and buggy. I mean, that's how radical Trump has created the voting. Everything has shifted. I mean, people who normally were not involved with government and politics are getting involved, because under Obama's administration, we had Mennonites here who also tend not to vote. And they went up against the government because, in Obamacare, they were being forced to provide their employees with the morning after pill. These are people who probably don't even have employees that even know what the morning after pill is. And so they went up against Obamacare and the government. And I think it spurred something in Pennsylvania. We were all watching this. The family, Conestoga family, they own Conestoga Nurseries here. They have about 200 employees. They went all the way to the Supreme Court with this case saying, no, we will not provide Obamacare for our employees. And of course, Obamacare was saying that they were going to be fined every day that they were not providing that for their employees. And again, recall that Obamacare does have the morning after pill. They do support anti-life in their health care. And I think that really helped Pennsylvania, because I think people that normally were living in this world where they weren't being persecuted by the government, now they were being persecuted and targeted by the government. And it wasn't only the Mennonites. It was, Catholic Charities has been shut down because they do not provide abortion in their health care plans. So I think that really helped Pennsylvania in just sharing that. We never want to go back to having a regime, a government that does not believe in our freedom of conscience.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I think that we're going to go red here. I encourage everybody to go to Laura Loomer, share all of her stuff, go to her website, go to the New Right Network, check out what Ryan Ash is doing, subscribe to everything. You guys are both on YouTube, right? But we need people to subscribe so that they're getting your information and content.
We actually broadcast this show out. We actually do it. I think we do it later today or tomorrow, or the next day. And so if you ever miss the show, and you can always catch it on our YouTube. And so, subscribe to our Twitter, and you'll definitely know all about that at New Right Network, 100%.
I think they should listen twice. If they listen today, they should listen tomorrow again, because you cannot get all the content that we're all talking about here today, and they need to share it as well. This is good stuff. This is stuff that, CNN, MSNBC...
Well, when you watch the news cycle... Right,
even Fox
when you watch that
is not
news cycle,
talking
right?
about what we're talking about. Even Fox isn't talking about what we're talking about.
That's because Fox is still, I think, in my opinion, neocon at its core. But I also think that, when you watch the news cycle, everything's so vehemently anti-Trump. we've all seen it. Not just us three, but everyone out there listening. Maybe you're listening for the first time. You all see how, liberally biased that the news cycle is every single day. And so, we try to provide something that's, fresh, and it's very authentic. As citizen journalism at its core is, I think, going to be the future. These large media conglomerates are unsustainable in the post-Trump. Probably in the Trump era, certainly post-Trump, they'll be done. That's what I really think.
I think so too.
And 7 more years, 6-7 years, right?
Laurel, any final thoughts?
No, I just would encourage people to really, honestly, like, if you haven't already voted early, go do that and make sure that you don't miss election day. There's just no excuse. Our life really honestly depends on it. This is matter of life and death at this point in time, because the Democrats are out for blood. They're inciting violence, and we really need to make sure that our Republican representatives are elected. We must vote Republican down the line.
Straight red.
Republicans that don't vote elect Democrats.
Even if you don't know, because a lot of people don't know a lot of the politicians who are running. Even if you don't know like who they are, I swear, just vote Republican down the line. It doesn't matter. Just vote.
They have to vote red.
It doesn't matter if you don't know.
In this election, straight ticket vote. In this election, do
right.
it.
It doesn't matter if you don't know who the person is. I swear, it's a life or death matter. You must vote Republican down the line.
And I've shared that if these Republicans get in and they end up being rhinos, or they're anti-Trump and they're working against us, then it is our responsibility again to hold their feet to the fire and say, this is what you were campaigning on, which is something that we have not done in many, many years. We've been very apathetic, but there's a different kind of Trump nation, a different kind of Trump Republican now, that if I vote straight red and then you get to Harrisburg or you go to DC and represent me and you're going against what you said you were going to, or you're going against Republican principles, we're going to make your life a living hell. We're going to petition, we're going to rally, and we're going to get you out. We did that with Charlie Dent here. Charlie Dent is a Republican. He's been a career politician. He was on CNN speaking against Trump. And we petitioned, we rallied, and he's not running again. He's out. He actually stepped down. So, that's what we also have to do. So I promise that I would let my exit music come on. Usually I'm speaking over it and still talking. Last week I was still talking to Andrew Torba. But I want to thank you guys so much for being on 1180 today with me. And remember to catch it on New Right Network tomorrow and on all of our social media, Laura Loomer, New Right Network, and Carla D'Addesi. And remember to vote red this Tuesday in the election. Everybody needs to get out and vote early, and do not listen to whatever the left-leaning mainstream media is telling you. We are going to win big. It's not just going to be a red wave. I believe that it is going to be a red tsunami. Again, Laura said this is life or death. The left is inciting violence and evil. They hate America. They hate our president. They hate our families. They hate safety. They hate a good economy. Vote red, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.
Your Family Matters with Carla D'Addesi is a production of the Freedom Station, WFYL, working for your liberty.